my job every year at the Pioneer Dinner is to report on the lives of the pioneers being honored, to see if they live up to the high standards of our community. Now, I must warn you that it's not easy for anyone to live a long life and not have done some foolish things.
Shh, be quiet, please.
People are not perfect. Keep that in mind, especially you children and grandchildren of these pioneers. My job is to report the truth. It is someone else's job to say nice things about these people. These 4 pioneers met for a private lunch about a week ago, but I was there to observe. I don't know what they were drinking, but things got bad in a hurry. The argument started over Neil having beaten Nancy in a tennis match. Nancy was new at tennis and thought Neil had cheated. She asked Neil to explain the scoring system. Neil very calmly said, "Well, if I am serving and make a point, the score is 15 love. If you serve, it is called love 15. The names of the other scores are 15-30, 30-15, 30-30, 30-40, 40-30, and when it's tied, it's called deuce. And after deuce comes add in and add out, and the last score is called game." At this time, Nancy became unglued. Nancy, a golf champion at Sunland, tried to hit Neil with a golf club. It looked to me like a 7-iron. Yes, a regular old 7-iron. Neil defended himself quite well with a tennis racket. Esther Nelson tried to escape, screaming that she was late for her job at the Chamber of Commerce. While Harry Schlaffman yelled at her, "I am the teacher here. You sit down and shut up." This whole scene reminded me of the time I went to the reunion picnic of the Sequim Nut family, who some of you may have read about. Anyway, the Sequim police arrived. The Pioneers' court appearance is set for May 15th. Fortunately, that appearance is after this dinner. However, for the parade, the Sequim police tell me they're going to put them in some sort of cage. Now let's talk about Harry Schlaffman. In looking into Harry's teaching career, I found he taught both driver's ed and business courses. So I checked to see how many of his students had done after graduation. Not one, not even one had a driver's license. And then I discovered that Harry owned all the Sequim tow truck companies and auto body shops. It is not generally known, but just prior to our economic crash in 2008, Harry was teaching loan bundling, whatever that is, to the big banks and teaching derivatives to the Wall Street tycoons. I don't even know what a derivative is, but that doesn't sound good. Harry, what have you done? Harry told me he was worried about possibly owing a lot of money to one of his former students, who is now a lawyer with experience in the prosecutor's office. And she is here tonight. It seems he lost a $10 bet to her 48 years ago, and he has never paid up. She is now holding him for payment. And he showed me these. These are the threatening letters he's gotten from her over the years. The total bill is $127,000, including interest, plus attorney fees. I told Harry I would see what I could do. After all, I have been to the law school at Harvard. I didn't go in, I saw the building. Anyway, in my research, I discovered the PPPP defense in an old Lincoln versus Douglas case in 1863. That defense, PPPP, means pay partial payment periodically and do it in front of witnesses. So, your former student here tonight, Pam Cameron, raise your hands. On behalf of Harry, I'm giving you $1 from Harry for this year, and next year, Harry promises to give you another $1. Somebody give this to Pam. Pam, now you can get off Harry's case.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about Nancy Jarmuth Smith. I've known Nancy for a long time. Our parents were friends. Nancy and her twin sister Mary and her brother Bob and I all rode the same school bus when Nancy lived in the big house on Grismar, the house pictured in the painting back there. Nancy was well behaved in those days. Many of you coming tonight may have noticed that Nancy was using a cane when she arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, that was not a cane. I recognized immediately that it was a golf club. Having seen her trying to hit Neil Cays with a 7-iron only a week ago. I took that club away from her, and here it is. Tell me what number's on the bottom of that club.
27.
27. You tell me what number's there.
7.
There's an honest woman. I'm going to give her club back after she gets in the car. Nancy's been trying to get a game with Tiger Woods, but she won't give him any strokes. Now, I know you non-golfers don't understand that part about giving him strokes, but take my word for it, it is funny. Nancy concentrates on her golf game. There was a time years ago when Nancy hit a long tee shot, but the ball sliced. Now, for your non-golfers, the ball curved. The ball went way to the right. It hit a car driving on the road and smashed the windshield, and the car crashed, and the driver was injured. Someone said, "Nancy, what are you going to do about that?" Nancy thought a minute and said, "Well, I think I'll change my grip a little bit." Now talk about Neil Cays. Everyone knows that the Cays family brought tennis to Sequim, and Neil continued that family tradition. Back in the 70s, Neil arranged to play Billie Jean King, the world's top female tennis pro. When she found out how good he was, she canceled the match and played that famous Bobby Riggs instead. And she beat him handily. Neil is still saying, "I was cheating. I could have taken her in 3 sets." Neil is now trying to line up a game with Serena Williams. Good luck, Neil. Neil has done well for a farm boy whose greatest fun as a kid was having slime fights with his sister Jean. The slime they threw was that green stuff that grows on the top of the cow's watering trough. Something I find suspicious about Neil is this. I noticed that a lot of the people entering his clinic are not wearing glasses. but when they come out, they are wearing ties. I think he's doing something bad to their eyesight. You can draw your own conclusions. I will say that Neil is an honest man. He calls things the way he sees them when he looks deep into your eyes. A few years ago I went in. He checked me out and said, "You have good eyesight for a man of 95. I told him I was still in my 70s. He said, "Oh then, your eyesight is terrible." Now let's talk about Esther Heuhslein Nelson. Esther Heuhslein Nelson claims she worked for Employment Security for 32 years. It's hard to believe she worked anywhere for long because we always see her everywhere. She's everywhere you go. Seems like she's in two places at once. I once asked Ron Baton, who used to work with her, about that. He said she never was hired by Employment Security. She just hung around trying to collect unemployment checks for so long that everybody assumed that she worked there. These days, they pay her to stay awake. But the big thing about Esther, the really big thing, I found in checking into Esther concerns trickery she has gotten away with for her whole life. Now, this is going to be hard for you to believe. When Esther was born, she had an identical twin sister, born at the same time. This so confused her parents that they did not tell anybody. They kept the twins separated so friends and neighbors would not discover the truth. Not only did they keep people from seeing both girls at once, they called both of them Esther. That explains why Esther and Esther could seem to be so many different places at the same time. Volunteering for so many different things and getting so much accomplished. They even took turns doing things like going to school, putting in time at Employment Security and the Grange and so on. And that trading explains why Esther and Esther, when they went to school one at a time, could not always remember something the other learned the day before. Esther and Esther really can be in two places at once. We will never know which one is with us tonight. Congratulations to the pioneers. Thank you.